Yeah, g'day everyone, I'm Brett and welcome back to Self-Reliance Australia. So today's video isn't technically about self-reliance, but it's going to be pretty cool anyway. But maybe it is about self-reliance because we're going to build a protective case. And so the case that we build today is something you can apply to anything that's long and thin essentially. But that's right folks. Today we're going to fight the bad guys with lightsabers. And we're actually going to build a protective case for the kids' lightsaber. So this is so it protects it when it's just in storage in their room. Because essentially the blade here is just a plastic tube. So we don't want that falling over and snapping off. But also it'll protect it if they want to move it around and take it to friends' parties. But like I said, the protective case isn't really just about the lightsaber. It's a very simple technique that I've had used before to protect long, thin objects. From any damage either in transit or in storage. So look, it is a fairly simple technique, so we'll just get straight into it. So what we're going to do, you can see the lightsaber there in all of its glory. It's roughly about 1 meter in length. So 1,000 millimeters. So what we're going to use, I went to the hardware store this morning. I have a 50 mil or 2 inch piece of PVC, so 50 mil diameter. Look, it is 1 meter long. I'm going to have 2 end caps. I've got a male and female thread. So that will then join together to become the cap that screws on the top. That will glue on, and that will go on the bottom. But to protect the bottom of the lightsaber as it gets slid down into it and sits on the bottom of that cap, we have some packaging. Now this is actually packaging that came with some stuff we got sent in the mail. It's like hot and cold packaging. I'm not too sure what actually came. I can't remember what came in the pack, but I'm going to cut that out and then glue it to the bottom of the cap. So when the bottom of the lightsaber then gets sat on that and it's sitting up against the wall, it's not going to be hard on the bottom. It's not going to get scratched and damaged. To glue it all together, I've got some contact glue, and that'll glue that packaging to the bottom of that. And we've also got some PVC glue to put it all together. Now clearly that comes with a whole heap of warnings, so you do need to be careful when you're using it. You don't want to get on your skin, and you don't want to be inhaling too much of it, so you want to be in a well ventilated area. So that's it. So let's get into it. So I'll start off by cutting that little packaging piece of protection up. And it's like, to get the right size, basically I've just got the end cap, put that over the top of it. I've got my knife and I'm cutting it out. Now I'm not trying to get it perfectly round so it fits inside or anything. Essentially I've just cut a square really. And as you can see, I'm just sort of slicing my way through it. It's all interwoven, so it's not a clean cut. Like it probably would have been easier if I had a pair of sharp scissors, but anyway, I didn't. I was up the shed. I did have a knife handy, so I pretty much just sliced my way through it. And look, like I said, once I had it the right shape or close to the right size, what I then did was that just fitted it into the cap just to make sure that I did have the whole area covered. Now if I wanted to get really tricky and I had some really solid type packaging, I probably could have cut like a nice little circle and slotted it in, but I wasn't going to go quite that far. So then what I did, I've then tested it on the base of the tube to make sure it fitted, make sure it's still going to be a nice flat finish, so it wasn't like the packaging was going to get in the way and make it go on an angle, because ultimately they will be sort of resting on the floor or up against the wall. So I want that cap to be on nice and square. So I just had obviously took the packaging out, blew all the dust out, then I used the contact cement or contact glue. Now with contact glue, you got to have a little bit there, but not significant amount. But I think the key with contact cement generally is that you want it on both pieces of, both particles that you're going to be gluing together. So what I did, I put it onto the cap, then I got the packaging, and then just put it in there, spun the packaging around a little bit so the glue got soaked up into it because it was fibrous. I didn't bother about adding any more contact cement or any more glue. Basically then I pull it out, make sure I had a good coverage on both sides, and then just put it in there and left it off to the side. So pretty happy with the way that came up. You'll see I'm just sort of trying to get the fibres to sit back down and trying to tuck them in so they're nicely in that nice round cap, because what I didn't want to do is have it glued in with bits of fibre hanging out everywhere, and then when I put the cap onto the bottom of the tube, all you see is these bits of fibre hanging out the bottom, which that would have just looked pretty messy. So now just testing out the other end. So that's the thread that I want to put on. So you want to make sure that you get the cement glued. Now this is a plumbing product, and look, you get different colors, and the different colors do mean different things, so different applications. So there's green, there's blue. I actually have both, but as you can probably see in the video, the green is a little bit gluggy, so it's just starting to go off a bit, and the blue was a lot worse. Pretty much the blue wasn't quite completely solid, but it was pretty much a gel, which is not ideal. But the green was okay, and look, considering that I'm not putting any pressure on these pipes, like when I talk about pressure, I'm not talking about they're not holding water pressure, which is generally what these different types of glues are for. Not a big deal. So essentially on one side, I've put like the brush width around, and you don't need a lot, to be honest. But you want a full coverage though. And then on the other item, I just put like half a brush width around. So look, if you put too much on, when you actually push them together, what you'll get is all the glue will sort of push out the joint. Now that might be okay if you're burying your pipe underground and you want it to make sure that you actually have a completely tight seal, like a watertight seal. You know, great, go for it. That's what you want to do. But this isn't going underground. Well, I hope it's not going underground. We're not going to have water pressure in it. So really we just want it to stay on there and be dust proof, and like it is sealed, so you know it's going to be moisture proof. In fact, I probably would go as far as saying it's going to be waterproof, but it may not take the pressure. But look, that is really as simple as it gets. You know, you just put the glue on, make sure the surface is clean first, obviously. So you know, I wiped it down with a cloth to start with, make sure all the dust was off of it, put a bit of glue around it, put a bit of glue on the other side, then just pushed them together. Now you notice that I've put it with that side down, so the thread pointing down. Now the reason for that is that the glue is on the inside of that particular joiner. So if it drips down, it's going to be dripping on the inside, and so you won't see it on the outside of the tube, which is what I really wanted to avoid, because you know, I don't think the kids will be painting these. They'll just see them, use them as they are. So I still wanted to look neat and have the job look neat and tidy. So essentially all you see, if you have a look at that tube now, there's a green line just at the end of that join, and that's where the glue has come out, and it's just like a little bead around the top of that, so it's a nice clean finish. So now what I've done, I've really just made the cap piece. So I've got another end cap and put it onto the other side of the other piece of thread and put that together. So like as you can see, look, it doesn't take very long at all to do. Like even with this whole video, I think the whole video with intro, outro takes about 11 or 12 minutes. And that's with me actually making the video while doing the job and doing intakes and outtakes and all that sort of stuff. So the actual job literally took just a few minutes to do. And particularly in this case, I didn't have to cut anything. So it was really just put a bit of glue on it and piece it together, which was really, really easy for me to do. So now what I'm doing here, I'm putting some glue on the bottom, and I'm going to put that end cap with the, with the packaging on it. But what you'll notice as I do this time that's different is I don't put glue on both pieces. Now the reason for that is I didn't want to get all the glue stuck onto that very fibrous packaging that's sitting in the bottom of that cap. And look, at the end of the day, that's going to be enough glue. Like I said, it's not having water mains pressure or anything like that put through the pipe. And there's enough glue on that to seal it off really, really quite nicely. So that's it. Push it down, give it a good tap, make sure it's on nice and straight, and we are good to go. And you might notice that there is another tube standing up there in the middle. That's because in the process, my daughter, who's on the other end of this camera at the time, made hers while we were waiting for one cap to be drying. So there we go, it's done. Look, it's pretty easy. As I often say, it's probably a lot easier than it looks. Look, this involved no cutting, literally just a couple of seconds of putting some glue on. Look, I actually bought the tube at length, as just a meter length, and look, they had them just on the shelf. So I didn't require any cutting. I bought the 2 end caps, which was just a bit of glue. I put them together and I'll see the threads. So that's now glued on. It does have some packaging in the bottom, which will protect the bottom of the lightsaber, because we are planning on putting the handle down the bottom first. So the weight is at the bottom of it as it leans up against the wall. And that way the pressure and the weight of the handle, which is actually the most of the weight because it's made of aluminium. I think it's aircraft grade aluminium that they're made out of, so they're pretty, got a bit of weight to them, which is nice. But you don't want all that weight sitting on the plastic tube, or the blade as they call it. So we'll put the handle at the bottom, so it sits on that, stop it from getting scratched up and damaged. And then we've got the thread on the top, and so we have a nice little cap. So that'll actually make it waterproof, not that we plan on putting it in water, by the way, but it will keep the dust out, it'll keep any moisture off of it, and it just screws on. And they can be nice and tight then, and that'll be a nice way to store them and keep them safe. Job done. So as far as cost goes, look, I think this tubing and all the pieces cost me probably about $10 for each of them. So like the end caps, I think were probably about $2, and same for the threads. And so the piece of pipe wasn't too much more. So look, roughly for about $10, you're going to protect a really cool piece of kit. So anyway, that was it. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you did like it, please remember to give a big thumbs up, and to hit the subscribe button, and ding that little bell if you want to get the notifications when the videos are released. And look, if you did enjoy it, share it with your friends. That'd be fantastic. Until next time, I'll see you then. May the Force be with you.